In the opening scene, we see a beautiful garden wedding and an overly excited Jessica Parks, who tells us about her love for wedding planning and being in charge of the ceremony. Her smile may be stretched from ear to ear because she's doing what she loves, but it soon fades away as her boyfriend decides to break up with her then and there. Rightfully so, she is devastated, so she runs to Ted, her best friend. On the other side of town, we see Ted at work in the gym when he spots a not-so-great-looking Jessica at the door. He lets her in, and she tells him all about the breakup. In no time, we see that Jessica starts feeling better just by having him by her side. As they are on the topic of relationships and bonding, Ted decides to drop a bomb on her by revealing that he's engaged. Confused, she looks at him wondering why he didn't tell her sooner. Getting up, she nervously admits that he's afraid of her not liking the girl, so Jessica assumes that it's one of his exes. Nope, it's worse. Ted reveals he's engaged to Kimberly Kentwood, his biggest high school bully. Jessica can't believe it. She asks whether he remembers the torture she put him through, but he tries justifying her actions by claiming that everyone has made fun of him. Somehow, Jessica decides to trust him, and even though she's doubtful, she agrees to catch up with Kimberly. At the nursing home where Jessica works, she shares the news with her elderly patients, and they all agree that she's upset because she's in love with him. She tries denying, but while taking a walk with Mr. Mulligan, we see that she's quite saddened. He asks her to cheer up because he'll always be her best friend. She heads home after work and seems to be emotionally drained. Walking in, she greets her mother and heads to her room, following her around with a nostalgic feeling. Confused by her own thoughts, she lays down, and soon enough Ted and Kimberly arrive at them. She slowly moves to the living room, feeling nervous about seeing Kimberly after so many years, let alone seeing her as Ted's future wife. Naturally, she embarrasses herself by almost falling down the stairs. But what really surprises everyone is Kimberly's behavior. She is super nice towards Jessica, which confuses her, but she tries her best to put the past behind. Soon, they head to the backyard where the engagement party will be held. Jessica goes over her plans for the decoration, and Kimberly seems to love them. Ted's mother joins them as well, and lets them know that everyone's been invited. Only Ted's grandmother is without a chauffeur. Without thinking, Jessica assures them that she will take care of it, so they leave it to her. As Ted's mother and Kimberly go to take care of something, Ted takes Jessica to their old treehouse. Getting in, they can't help but reminisce about the time spent there and the gossip retold. Feeling appreciative, Ted lets her know how much she means to him and how much he loves her. His words may seem friendly, but they stick to Jessica, and it makes her rethink her feelings toward him. The following morning, she confides in Mr. Mulligan that she might have feelings for Ted. Being the wise man that he is, Mr. Mulligan advises her to explore her feelings and see where she is, as she's helping him with the wedding. In the evening, we see Jessica making sure everything is in check before the guests arrive. Luckily for her, the whole family loves the decorations, even Kimberly and her evil friends. However, Ted asks where his grandma is, and everyone turns to Jessica. Luckily, she doesn't tell on herself that she forgot to arrange a ride for grandma, but assures them that she should be arriving any minute. Rushing to a more private area, Jessica calls Grandma to apologize for forgetting her and promises to have someone pick her up soon. No one answers her calls except Mr. Mulligan, so she asks him for a favor. Returning to the party, she acts like nothing is going on, but Ted makes sure to ask her. The conversation soon takes a different direction, as Ted shows her old pictures of when they were kids and reminisces the stories behind them. Opposite of them, we see a relaxed Kimberly talking to her friends who seem to be gossiping behind her back. She asks them what they're gossiping about, and they proceed to fill her head with thoughts that Jessica is in love with Ted. Looking at them from afar, they seem to be happy in each other's presence, but Kimberly's evil friends twist it enough to make it suspicious. Finally, Jessica gets a call from Patrick, who tells her that Grandma has arrived, so she rushes outside. Grandma goes to the party while Patrick chats with Jessica. Forgetting about Grandma only proves that Jessica has a lot on her mind, but she thinks that Patrick's reading into it too much. The same conversation awaits her in the morning, but is much more intense. While waiting for Ted and Kimberly to show them the venue, Jessica sees only Kimberly walking up to her. Letting her know that Ted will be joining later, Kimberly suggests they get to know each other. After some chit-chat, Kimberly decides to break her silence by asking whether she and Ted have hooked up. Taken aback, Jessica assures her that nothing has happened between them and that they're just friends. Despite sounding convincing, Kimberly doesn't believe her, so she makes her confess whether she has feelings for him. We see Ted walking towards them, so Kim rushes her to confess, but Jessica manages to lie straight to her face. Unaware of the situation, Ted joins them and they switch to wedding talk. Jessica feels uncomfortable as they act lovey-dovey around her, but she doesn't seem to have any other choices. The following day, Jessica speaks with Patrick and admits to lying to Kimberly. He doesn't judge her, but rather tries to understand where she's coming from. After the countless mess-ups, she promises to be more focused when she remembers that she had forgotten to plan the daily activity. Patrick shakes his head, hoping that it all doesn't end up disastrous. Luckily, Jessica figures it out and picks up everyone in a van, just to take them to a paintball arena. Divided into two teams, the group splits and the epic battle begins. Jessica and Ted, being in the groom's team, function better as a duo, so we see them fighting against the other team together. The bride's team, on the other hand, goes as a whole to every spot, which is inconvenient because Kimberly's evil friends make her assume that Jessica is in love with Ted again, as they let her know that they're playing together. Seeing them smile that big, just by remembering the good old times, makes her insecure, which is exactly why she attacks Jessica after the game. The whole time, Kimberly's ex has been calling her and simply bothering her. As she's on the phone with him, Jessica approaches her and offers to help, but Kimberly tells her that she can only help by not being in love with her husband. As Jessica's explaining herself, Ted comes over and Kimberly makes her talk about her feelings in front of him. She becomes certain about both their feelings for each other, but she's disappointed to find out that he doesn't have any feelings for her. Playing it safe, she assures Kimberly that she just doesn't want to lose her best friend, and she believes her. Per usual, she shares the news with Patrick, and even he admits to having thought that Ted liked her. Jessica puts her feelings aside and decides to continue being Ted's best friend. Following their tradition, she organizes a horror movie night just like they used to do it all the time. Same as Patrick, her roommate tells her that she had always thought of Ted as having a crush on her. Jessica becomes confused, which is why she keeps stealing glances at him while watching the movie. However, he does the same thing. Finally, they look into each other's eyes, and Ted decides to open up. He mentions his coffee order, and not only does Jessica know it, but she knows the gradual shift of how he used to drink his coffee versus how he likes it now. It upsets him that Kimberly had gotten him the wrong order, which only makes him wonder if she's the one. He thinks that he should be marrying someone that knows him just like she does, as if she's not literally in front of him. Jessica panics, not liking the direction in which the conversation is going, so she suggests they go meet the rest of the group. Unfortunately, Ted claims to have work in the morning, so he leaves and Jessica decides to go by herself. Her friends notice that she's not herself, so they ask, but she pretends to be fine. However, they know that it's about Kimberly, and none of them believes that she's a changed person. Kimberly's friends seem to have the same doubts about Ted. They want Kimberly to be happy, which is why they ask her to rethink the whole situation because they don't see her marrying Ted. In their eyes, Mark is the best for her, as they've proven to be one for another. Kimberly rejects the idea, but they remind her that she doesn't have anything to lose if she tries. The following morning, Jessica heads to Ted's, unaware of the disaster that's about to occur. No one answers the door, so she takes the liberty to let herself in. After calling out for him, she decides to head upstairs, which is when she hears someone talking on the phone. As she gets closer, she overhears Kimberly talking to someone on the phone and expressing her doubts about marrying Ted. Jessica stands still as Kimberly tells the man on the other line that she loves him. But of course, she unintentionally makes herself known, so Kimberly runs after her. Jessica threatens to tell Ted everything, and before Kim has the chance to explain herself, Ted walks into the house. Rushing down the stairs, Jessica tells him everything only for Kimberly to prove that she was talking to her father and not her ex. Her accusations only confirm that she's in love with Ted, and even he starts to believe them now. Not only that, as Jessica reaches for her purse, Ted notices the envelope for the venue and quickly realizes that they don't have a venue for their wedding since Jessica didn't deliver it. Having had enough, they ask her to leave, and before she gets the chance, Kimberly lets her know that she's not invited to the wedding. With tears in her eyes, Jessica promises not to ruin their wedding by showing up. Jessica feels guilty, but luckily she comes up with an idea while talking to Patrick. Using her relations, she reaches out to everyone who owes her a favor and manages to get their dream venue. However, she doesn't feel comfortable showing up in front of them, so she gets Ted's grandmother to reveal the surprise, and they couldn't be more excited. In just a few hours, they manage a crew to help them around. Among them is Jessica, of course, wearing a disguise and carrying a walkie-talkie. Patrick follows her orders and listens to her instructions. However, after some time, he catches up with her to let her know that Ted is nowhere to be found. Luckily, she knows Ted well enough, so she rushes to get him back to the venue without being noticed. Of course, she finds him in the treehouse and they make amends, but what surprises her is when he asks for her opinion. Given that it's a big decision, she tells him that she can't make it for him, so he proceeds to ask her whether she truly has feelings for him. she doesn't dare to admit it, so she assures him that they're best friends. Ready to marry the prom queen, Ted hops on the back of Patrick's scooter as Jessica drives them back to the venue. Returning to the venue, they're surprised to see Kimberly on her way out. As mean as her friends are, they turn out to be right. Kimberly finally realizes that while Ted is a great guy, he's not the one for her. Not only that, she finally admits to being mean in high school and takes accountability for it. Wishing them not to live in regret, she advises them to finally tie the knot. And just like that, the two best friends finally break the ice, and we see them tying the knot 6 months later.